Hello everyone, Mr. Marks here. My turn this week to do a virtual assembly and send home to say hello to you all. I hope you're all well and keeping safe. I know Mr. Early sent an assembly home to you last week, which many of you enjoyed. And just on the back of that, I wanted to say that I feel the same way as Mr. Early. We miss you. School is not the same without having everybody here. It's been lovely seeing some of the children and welcoming back a few more again this week. But it's not the same, and there's many of you that I haven't seen for a long time, so this is a nice opportunity for me to say hello to you and wish you all well. We did a virtual assembly last week in school, and that worked really well. It was a nice way for me to be able to say hello to all the children in school. We currently have 13 bubbles. We had 12 bubbles last week, and although I see some of the children because I let them in through the gate and say good morning to them all, I don't get to see them all properly because I can't go in and out of the bubbles. I can't go into all the classrooms to say hello to them all. So by doing a virtual assembly, it was a nice chance for me to see some of the other children across the school and say hello. So I thought carefully about what I might like my first assembly to be about, and I decided to focus on the positives that lockdown has brought. So I shared some of the positives from what I've experienced over the past few weeks, and then the children were able to, through a chat function, let me know of some of the things that they've enjoyed doing, or some of the new things that they've discovered or learned. So over the past few weeks, some of the things that I did was bit of a funny photo, that one, bit of a dodgy one. I started running again. I had started running about 18 months ago, and then I hurt my knee, so I had to stop. But I gave that a lot of rest, and I started again. And I'm holding up my hand like this because I did something called you run 5 kilometres, and it was to raise money to support the NHS, and I paid a donation and run 5 kilometres, and that got me back into it. It was a nice way to start. It gave me a bit of something to run for, if you like, and then I carried on running and got myself a little bit better at that. So that was one thing that came out of lockdown, because I was trying to make the most of the chance to get outside, because although I've got a garden and it's nice to get out into the garden, we were allowed to go out for exercise, so that was I was making the most of that. A bit of a boring picture of a fence, but I did put that fence up myself, which was good. So I've never done that before, so I had to learn how to do that. The wind blew down 2 of the panels in my garden, so I had to fix that, and I had some help from someone that I work with that knows what he's doing, and we managed to put that up, and I learned how to do that. So I learned a new skill, something that I think I'll be able to do again. I know lots of people have done this, bit of baking. My mum's a really good baker. And we did, and Mrs. Granville gave me this idea. So we did a virtual meeting, like a Zoom meeting with my mum, and she taught my boys and me how to bake cakes. And so she gave the instructions so we could see her on our little screen, and we did it step by step, and she baked some at the same time. And they came out really well, and they tasted lovely. And then actually that's a photo of the second batch. We challenged ourselves to do another batch without the help of my mum, and they came out pretty well again. So that was something else. And then I think possibly my favourite one is, because we've been inside a lot, me and my youngest Daniel, we became very good at building forts. So a lot of fun. So that was one of the earlier ones we do, but I think my other son might be under there somewhere within that fort. So we've done a lot of that inside, creating a bit of a mess, but it's all good fun. Now, what's been really good to see is following Twitter, because lots of you have been putting onto Twitter some of the things that you've done during your home learning. So I picked a few out. I couldn't pick everybody's out because there's so much of it, but there's a few here that I thought it would be nice to share, because I imagine lots of you haven't seen some of the other Twitter feeds from the other classes, and there's been so much put on there, it'd be so easy to miss lots of them. So here's a few examples, some really nice art and crafty ones here from some of the boys and girls across the school. We've got, I know the Lighthouse Keeper's Lunch has been a really popular book. It's one of my favourites, and the Year 1 children have been looking at that, and we've got some creations there. We've even got the pulley system between the lighthouse and the lighthouse keeper's house being created in the garden of some of the children in the school. We've got artwork, so children recreating artwork. So we've got this famous Scream picture, and then recreated using a potato. Amazing. We've got bug houses have been built, and then lots of like nature, so like Andy Goldsworthy type stuff, which is beautiful. And then we've got some art that's been created on using Purple Mash and some of the art tools on there. We've had children share electronics, so science, and Mr. Newton, who's in charge of science in the school, was really impressed with that. So another wonderful, really weird and wacky sort of optical illusion artwork created by some of the children in years 3 and 4. Robot designs, I saw lots of those, the designs and then being made and turned into robots. Music, so you've been doing some music at home, creating your own musical instruments, and that's some e-safety work as well, so keeping yourselves on safe when online, because I imagine lots of you have spent lots of time online, so I'm really pleased that you've considered the importance of keeping safe. And then the PE, I know Mr. Cowles have been setting challenges over the holidays at one point, and some of you are really good at challenging yourself to see if you could beat his score, and I know some of you did manage to do that, and that's pretty impressive. And then we've got some more robots being built, some baking as well. I know that's been a popular thing to do, lovely thing to learn, lifelong skill, being able to bake. And then some of my favourite videos and pictures I've seen of children learning how to ride their bikes. What a brilliant thing to do whilst you've had that time at home. And I know there's been quite a few of you, especially down the bottom end of the school, that have set yourself the challenge of learning to ride your bike independently without stabilisers whilst you've been in lockdown. And again, what a brilliant skill. That's it. Such a healthy thing to be able to do. It'd be great to see some of you arrive to school when you're back on those bikes. So congratulations, boys and girls. It's been wonderful. Keep that work coming in. Keep sharing it on Twitter if you can. And it's been lovely to see that. And it's a nice way for me and Mr. Erdley and the rest of the teachers to see you as well, because we don't get to see you every day like we normally do. Now, normally, when I do assemblies are one of my favourite things to do in school, because I get to see everybody. Everybody comes into the hall, and I see lots of people on the gate in the morning. That's, again, one of my highlights of my day. And I'm getting to do that at the moment, but it's only a handful of children coming through the gate, which I'm saying later. But I don't get to see any of the mums and dads because they don't come through the gate. It's just the children independently coming through. But then we do assemblies, and you all sit there, and I get to see everybody. And we start assemblies off, my assemblies and Mr. Erdley's assemblies, with something on the screen, something a bit different, that's caught our imagination, and we've discovered it online at some point, and we share it with you. And I know Mr. Erdley's assembly that he sent last week had some artwork. He's often fond of sending some artwork. So I've discovered a few things, a few photos. So I thought, well, what a nice thing to be able to share, so I'll share a few of those. So it does say a question, so I'm going to challenge you to guess what you think the photo is of. And maybe you can tell somebody, if you're in the room with you're watching this whilst with a family member, you can have a quick discussion. I'll give you a quick moment to think about it, and then I'll let you know what it is. So here's the first one. So what is this a photo of? Now, at first glance, it probably just looks like the corner of a coffee shop or little cafe somewhere, but not looking at the chairs and the nice geraniums in the flower pots there. It's more the tiles that are on the floor and those crosses and then the letters. What do you think that might be? So if you're with someone, tell them. If not, just tell yourself. Have a think in your head. Okay, I'm sure some of you would have guessed what this is, and that's a country border line. So where it says NL, if you're stood there on that tile, you're in the Netherlands, and if you cross over that grey strip of tiles that have the crosses on, you enter a whole other country, enter Belgium. So you can stand with one foot in one country and one foot in another, and that borderline just happens to cross exactly where this coffee shop, this restaurant is. So you can be sat there in one country, and then as you get up to leave, enter a completely other country. Amazing. You see them on maps, the lines between all the countries, but actually those lines do exist. They are actually there, and you can physically see them in some places. Okay, so next one. I love this photo. This is it really caught my imagination when I saw it. What is this a photo of? Look really closely. Have a good close look at it. I shared this with the boys and girls in school, and some of them guessed it straight away, but there's some really good guesses as well what else they thought it might be. So that's an aerial photo taken from quite high up of New York City, and I'm guessing it's around Times Square, which is a very bright and colourful area, but what it looks a lot like is a circuit board. So I just think it's obviously, I guess it's been taken at night, and you can see the edges of Manhattan Island there where it's surrounded by the water. But the way they lay out New York in this sort of grid system from high up makes it look a bit like a circuit board. I think there might have been a few photographic tricks possibly to enhance some of those colours and what have you, but a brilliant photo. I love it. So well done if you managed to guess that. Next one. So what is this a photo of? Look carefully again. Make sure you have a good look all around. Tell the person with you if you want to have a guess what you think that might be. So when I showed it to some of the other children, they thought it may have been one of those photos that we sometimes share that's like a magnified photo. So it's something that's been magnified hundreds of times. So you're seeing something that's quite a small thing maybe, but really close up. But it's not. It's not something close up. In fact, this is a similar photo to the one before. This is an aerial photo probably from a helicopter or maybe a plane floating quite high above the ground, and that's actually another city photo, but this time it's New Delhi in India. So that's what New Delhi looks like from high up, obviously daytime rather than nighttime, but very, very different landscape. But you could mistake that for a close-up of maybe tree bark or some kind of stone, concrete, man-made material used for building. It's not. That's what New Delhi looks like from high up. Okay, next one. Oh, I love this one. This is a good one. I've never seen this before. What is this a photo of? Look really closely. You might not see it straight away. I wonder if any of you know what that's called. Tell the person you're with, or say it out loud, or say it in your head if you're watching this video now. So I'm sure you can make it out when you look carefully that there is a creature attached to that log or that branch of a tree, and it's a type of spider, and its common name is a wraparound spider, and it has a real clever trick where it can make itself really flat and then wrap itself around a tree log like that and hide. Because of its pattern, its camouflage, it's really hard to spot. And if you imagine walking through, and this is in Australia, lots of weird and wonderful creatures like that living in Australia. If you were wandering through past that tree, you could easily miss that spider sitting there. And then just wander through and it wouldn't even notice you, and it hides there, probably away from predators, things that want to possibly eat it, but also to hide away from its prey, things that it wants to eat. So that's it from me today, boys and girls. I hope you've enjoyed this virtual assembly. Mr. Early will do another one next week, and then I'll see you again the week after that. But in the meantime, did you discover anything amazing during lockdown? Perhaps you could tweet it, or you could send an email to your teacher to let them know, and they could pass it on to me, and I could maybe share some of those in my next assembly if you've discovered something amazing. Well done again to all those that have put things on Twitter, and I know lots of you have been doing wonderful things at home that you may not have shared via Twitter, but if you do, I'll see if I can grab hold of a few more and showcase them on my next assembly. And I shall see you soon. So take care, everybody, and I'll see you in a few weeks' time.